to exercise their own decisions about what type of firearm they legally purchase and own.
Just the firearm issue. The public health order will evolve and has.
Our Second Amendment. It's a hell no to government trampling on our freedoms.
Metro Detention Center. We know that that is the largest mental health facility, drug treatment center in the state of New Mexico.
We can't sit here and have debates. We can't wait for the 30-day session in January.
This problem is real, and I'm grateful to be part of the solution, and I'm grateful for our governor's work in bringing together.
Judge blocks suspension of right to carry arms in public. A federal judge has blocked part of a public health order that suspended the right to carry arms in public across New Mexico's largest metro area, with criticism mounting and political divides widening over the Democratic governor's action. The ruling by U.S. District Judge David Urias marks a setback for Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham.
Effective leadership and all the evidence-based, right, reduction in gun violence policies. We have the third highest gun-related injuries in the country, 90% higher.
The second-term governor imposed an emergency public health order that suspended the right to openly carry or conceal arms in public places based on a statistical threshold for crime that applied only to Albuquerque and the surrounding area. She cited recent slayings around the state that left children dead, saying something needed to be done. Urias, who was appointed to the federal bench by President Joe Biden, agreed with plaintiffs who had accused Lujan Grisham of trampling on constitutional rights. Urias granted a temporary restraining order to block the governor's suspension of arms rights until another hearing is held in early October. Urias said he doesn't blame Lujan Grisham for trying to do something in the face of these terrible deaths, but his duty is to decide a much more narrow question regarding the rights offered under the U.S. Constitution. The governor, in a statement issued, said she wouldn't be resigned to the status quo.
That suspension does not apply to any private property.
If you were serious, you would acknowledge that 96% of mass public shootings happen in an area where guns are banned.
I see the pain of families who lost their loved ones to armed crime every single day, and I will never stop fighting to prevent other families from enduring these tragedies, she said, although she acknowledged previously that criminals likely would ignore her order. Lujan Grisham also pledged to increase state police presence in Bernalillo County and to focus on arresting those with outstanding warrants. She also said she would direct the healthcare system to expand capacity to deal with drug addiction and homelessness. Lawyers for the plaintiffs told the judge that the governor had other options to address the problems, but chose to inflict what some critics have described as a punishment on law-abiding residents. The Second Amendment has no exception, said Jason Bowles, an Albuquerque attorney who's representing the National Association for Armed Rights. It has no part that says that as long as a state governor can issue an emergency, you're allowed to take out our citizens' arms. It doesn't say that. There's no case that ever said that, there's no historical evidence of that, there's no support for it. Connecticut-based attorney Cameron Atkinson, who represents We the Patriots USA and Bernalillo County resident Dennis Smith, characterized the governor's action as an emotional reaction to heartbreaking tragedies. "We get that people's hearts are broken," he said outside the courthouse, but the answer to tragedy is not to take away from the people who need it the most the means to protect themselves and their families.
None of those individuals or groups focused on the actual injuries or deaths of the public.
Directly attack the issue at hand, and for me, it's very laser focused. It's violent crime in the metro.
State police had authority under the order to assess civil penalties and a fine of up to $5,000. The sheriff and Albuquerque's police chief had refused to enforce the arms ban. The rest of the public health sector, including directives for monthly inspections of arms dealers statewide, reports on arms shot victims at New Mexico hospitals, and wastewater testing for illicit substances remains intact. Holly Onkajanian, the governor's chief counsel, said the order will save lives. "I wish when our police officers walk down the street, they could see people wearing a shirt that said good guy and somebody with a shirt that said bad guy," she said, but that doesn't exist. Republicans in the legislative majority have called for impeachment proceedings against the governor, saying that her actions make for a slippery slope when it comes to the use of public health orders to affect policy changes. Those concerns have resonated with the residents who have protested in Albuquerque's public plazas. They say the governor is testing the boundaries of her executive order again after using public health orders for aggressive lockdowns during the outset of the coronavirus pandemic. Even top Democrats, including New Mexico Attorney General Raul Torres, have suggested that the governor's time would have been better spent developing comprehensive legislation to tackle the issue.
And I will keep doing everything that's based in science and fact and public safety effort.
An escalation in violence perpetrated with guns, particularly among our young people, in a manner that I have never seen.
Defund the police, and then they want to take our Second Amendment right to defend ourselves.
New Mexico is an open carry state, so the governor's order suspending the open and concealed carry of arms affected anyone in Bernalillo County who can legally own an arm, with some exceptions. Just over 14,500 people in Bernalillo County had an active concealed carry license, according to an Associated Press analysis of data provided by the New Mexico Department of Public Safety for the 2023 fiscal year. Statewide, including Bernalillo County, the 2023 fiscal year data showed just over 45,000 active concealed carry licenses. The New Mexico Chiefs of Police Association, other top law enforcement officials, and Albuquerque Mayor Tim Keller were among those who are calling for a special legislative session to tackle armed crime. Keller and Albuquerque Police Chief Harold Medina outlined what the city has been doing to address crime, saying law enforcement and judicial officials have been meeting since 2021 to develop legislative priorities and other efforts to fix what they refer to as a broken criminal justice system.
And I will keep doing everything that's based in science and fact and public safety effort.
Getting assault weapons, AR-15s, out of the hands of people who shouldn't have.
Referred to as a broken criminal justice system. The official said many of the proposals have been watered down to the point of being ineffective, and vital programs have gone without needed funding. Albuquerque families can't afford political debates that distract us from fighting crime, Keller said. This is a powerful moment to listen to police and behavioral health professionals to create the change we need in a special session. Judge rejects preliminary injunction. With everything going on in the world right now, including people paragliding and hand gliding over walls, and concerning atrocities happening in this nation where there are those hell-bent on disarming the populace, we're turning our attention to New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham.
They were assaulted and shot by someone and couldn't defend themselves because their guns were taken from them.
This rule turns law-abiding gun owners into felons is a result of unelected bureaucrats.
I'm not safe. And what are you going to do about it? I'm terrified in my own neighborhood.
Last night, a significant decision was made regarding the preliminary injunction for or against Michelle Lujan Grisham. Governor Grisham had declared a public health emergency due to a child being slayed, and in response, she suspended the Second Amendment, both open carry and concealed carry in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and Bernalillo County, the most populous area in the state. Additionally, there were other provisions in her order that could lead to restrictions based on the number of armed shot-related hospitalizations and reports involving arms in an area. Essentially, it created a list of places where carrying an arm would be prohibited, similar to the list under Nazi Germany. Numerous advocacy groups representing a range of interests came together and filed 5 different lawsuits against these restrictions, which were eventually merged into one case.
Second Amendment protects firearms in common use at the time and also said this, quote, for lawful purposes like self-defense.
More than $150 million for retention, bonuses, and recruitment of new police officers.
We're outmanned, we're outstaffed. We do need responsible gun legislation.
Initially, a temporary restraining order was issued because it was believed that Governor Grisham had overstepped her authority by suspending constitutional rights due to her perception of necessity. However, after this temporary restraining order, Governor Grisham amended her order to limit the restrictions to only public parks and playgrounds. The case proceeded to a hearing where the judge seemed sympathetic to the concerns, but ultimately, the judge issued a decision yesterday. The judge determined that there would be no preliminary injunction because the case had become moot. This was due to the fact that Governor Grisham had narrowed the scope of her original order.
If you are committing a crime in Bernalillo County and we catch you, we're going to force you to get treatment through the criminal justice system.
Ban assault weapons, ban them again, do it now, enough, do something.
Living in Albuquerque and Bernalillo County, I believe that you're safer for the next 30 days.
Additionally, the judge cited the Supreme Court's guidance that any government infringement on the Second Amendment must align with the country's historical and traditional arm regulation at the time of the Second Amendment's adoption. Governor Grisham's plan to extend the suspension of Second Amendment rights for an additional 30 days was also highlighted during the legal process. It means that there could potentially be a 90-day suspension of the right to keep and bear arms, particularly in public parks and playgrounds, during a time when concerns about safety are heightened. In the end, the judge's decision didn't favor the continued suspension of Second Amendment rights, and it remains to be seen whether there will be an appeal. Continued legal battle over Second Amendment rights. It seems like that all the involved groups will continue to fight this decision because it's still an infringement on Second Amendment rights, especially in sensitive places. The concept of sensitive places has been a point of contention, and anti-arm advocates tend to seize upon these weaknesses in legal decisions, exploiting them for their own cause.
Not really. Look, if you want the community to be safer, show me that you can do that. To the city that has the most significant issues today, and a challenge to the state.
This issue is particularly pronounced in the 6 states that have post-Heller bills, with Massachusetts having one of the most stringent bills in the country. They recently had a public hearing on this matter, and now we'll have to wait and see if the legislators have the courage to do what's right, which frankly is doubted. The situation in Massachusetts is so concerning that even all the chiefs of police in the Commonwealth voted against supporting the bill. Yet the Attorney General, the legislator, and the governor are pushing for it. It's a stark reminder that our rights are not granted to us by any specific political ideology. We have the inherent will to keep and bear arms. We suggest that you exercise all of your rights and not just the ones that are more popular than others.
Change a law. They are already used to breaking the law, and the people will still do it, will continue to do it.
Living in Albuquerque and Bernalillo County, I believe that you're safer for the next 30 days.
It's worth mentioning that the judge used the 14th Amendment from 1868 as a basis to dismiss the case, which adds another layer of complexity to this ongoing battle for our rights. Well guys, that does it for this video. See you next time, and bye for now.